The 90s are back. So is it cool again to listen to Peter Andre's Mysterious Girl or not? Oh no, Barbie Girl, that's the sweetest plum. If you're wondering why the 90s have come back, it's because video games are to blame for violence. Now, I thought we were past all this. I thought this had been sorted out and it had become sort of old-fashioned. You know, people had started to blame iPads and stuff for the rotting of the brains of America's youth. But politicians eager to deflect the discussion of gun violence away from, well, guns, have resurrected an old favourite scapegoat, and it is video games. You see, it's the violent video games, everyone. That's why all of those school shootings keep happening. That's why all of those mass murders keep going on in America. I mean, let's not mind the fact that video games are available worldwide, and these mass shootings keep happening in one specific country. No. It's video games. If only they had an age rating system. Oh, yeah. Well, I suppose we better start at the top. That cranky old man who lives in the White House and plays golf all the time and is always tweeting, who incidentally has received $30 million before from the NRA, he said that we have to do something about what kids are seeing and how they're seeing it, and also video games. Apparently he's hearing more and more people say the level of violence on video games is shaping more and more people's thoughts. To really emphasise that the 90s have returned, movies are getting some blame as well. I remember in the UK when Jamie Bolger was the victim of a murder. Absolutely horrific fucking situation, but the movie Child's Play was blamed for that. I was only like 6 years old at the time, but if I recall, I even think there were like mass burnings of copies of Child's Play. So we really are in retro territory. He's joined by Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin, who said, "These are games that literally replicate and give people the ability to score points." God, I haven't heard the whole score points excuse in a long time. "For doing the very same thing that these students are doing inside of schools, where you get extra points for finishing someone off who's lying there begging for their life." No mention of how such a fantastical scenario is so easy to replicate in real life, of course. Meanwhile, Rhode Island is taking things to the next level, introducing a bill that would put a tax on video games rated mature or higher and funnel those funds into mental health and counselling resources. A suggestion that not only automatically stigmatises the mentally ill, but replicates the exact same kind of bills that went around in the early 2000s that failed. Time and time again. I remember when California wasted an inconceivable amount of tax dollars trying to get additional restrictions placed on video games, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, star of the Terminator films, being one of the more ironic proponents of this kind of bollocks. Heaven forbid, of course, we think about restricting, that thing with the trigger you pull that can make lots of people dead really quickly. It's the video games! Pathetic. Now, while media can, of course, shape how someone views the world, and I'm, of course, the first to point out how manipulative and exploitative and psychologically affecting games can be in certain regards, you know what I'm talking about. Any study attempting to link gun violence to video games, or indeed any kind of active violence to video games, has never been conclusive. It simply never has been. Meanwhile, I would argue that the link between being able to kill people with a gun and having a gun is just a little bit stronger. Just a little bit. I'm not advocating for anything there, just saying is all. I'm just curious as to why the consistent factors in the violence are being so protected, whereas the inconclusive, inconsistent factors are getting all the blame. Oh yeah, that'd do it. The Entertainment Software Association needs to spend a lot more lobbying money, I guess, huh? Not that you actually asked for my opinion on gun violence, but personally, and I don't think this is particularly unreasonable, I just think it shouldn't be as easy as it currently is to get a machine that can help you commit mass murder in seconds. I just think it should be a bit harder to get that. I apologise, of course, for my totalitarian viewpoint there. I understand that I'm now worse than 10 Hitlers for ever saying that. I certainly don't think offhandedly blaming video games or trying to put failed bill after failed bill out there and wasting tax dollars, all in the name of scapegoating the media like we were living in the goddamn fucking past, is gonna do a snifter of fuck all about the problem. Meanwhile, of course, there are people advocating for teachers to have to learn to use firearms and potentially put down their own students. So the current word from the world of politics is less video games, more guns will stop gun problems. And I don't know, that just seems like the wrong way round to me. Am I just coming at you with Wonderland logic or something? Is that not the wrong way round? Maybe it's just that I'm British, where in Britain there was the Dunblane Massacre, which was a school shooting that happened in the 90s, 1996, if I recall off the top of my head. And in the wake of that, they restricted gun sales, and then the mass shootings didn't happen. Meanwhile, you can still buy Call of Duty over there. But anyway, I'm looking forward to the Spice Girls' next single. Fucking hell.